Captain Alex Morrison stood on the bridge of the Endeavour, watching the stars drift by through the large window in front of him. The ship had been traveling through space for 3 months now, looking for new planets and interesting things in the Kepler 442 system. Alex was 35 years old and had been leading space missions for 10 years. He was good at his job, and his crew trusted him. "Captain, we're picking up something strange," said Dr. Lisa Hayes from her science station. She was the ship's head scientist and one of the smartest people Alex had ever met. Lisa had short brown hair and always wore her blue uniform perfectly clean. "There's an energy reading coming from near the big gas planet." Alex walked over to look at her screen. Numbers and colored lines moved across it in patterns he didn't understand. That's why he needed Lisa. She could read these things like he could read a book. "What kind of energy?" Alex asked. "I don't know. I've never seen anything like it before," Lisa said. She pushed some buttons and the screen changed. "It's not natural. Something made this." Commander Jake Phillips looked up from his navigation. Controls. Jake was the ship's pilot and navigator. He had been Alex's friend since they went to Space Academy together 15 years ago. Jake was tall and had blonde hair that was always messy. "Captain, should I change our course to check it out?" Alex thought about it. Their mission was to study planets and look for signs of life. They weren't supposed to investigate unknown energy sources. But this could be important. If someone or something was out here making energy signals, Earth needed to know about it. "Yes, take us closer. But keep us at a safe distance," Alex said. The Endeavour turned toward the gas planet. Ship was big, about the size of a football field, and carried 50 people. It had the best engines and computers that Earth could build. Alex was proud to command it. Dr. Sam Torres, the ship's doctor, came onto the bridge. Sam was a quiet man with dark hair and kind eyes. He usually stayed in the medical bay, so seeing him on the bridge meant something was wrong. "Captain, some of the crew are reporting strange dreams," Sam said. "They started about an hour ago. People are dreaming about darkness and voices calling." To them, Alex felt worried. Strange dreams and unknown energy signals at the same time couldn't be a coincidence. "How many people?" "About 10 so far." They'll describe the same thing. Darkness that moves and whispers they can't understand. "Lisa, are we close enough to see what's making that energy yet?" Alex asked. Lisa worked at her controls for a minute. Then the main screen at the front of the bridge lit up with an image that made everyone stop talking. Floating in space, near the gas planet, was a huge structure. It looked like someone had built a city in space, but the buildings were twisted and wrong. The whole thing was dark gray and seemed to absorb light instead of reflecting it. Strange symbols covered its surface, and they seemed to move when you looked at them. "My God," Jake whispered. "How big is that thing?" "About 50 miles across," Lisa said, her voice shaking. "And it's old. Really old. The metal it's made from doesn't match anything in our database." Alex stared at the structure. In all his years exploring space, he had never seen anything like it. Earth had found ruins of old civilizations before, but they were always on planets. This was floating free in space, and it was huge. "Captain, the energy readings are getting stronger," Lisa reported. "And there's something else. The structure is scanning us?" "Scanning us how?" "I'm not sure, but it knows we're here." Alex made a decision that would change everything. "Take us closer. I want to see this thing up close." "Sir, that might not be safe," said Lieutenant Amy Chen, the ship's engineer. May was young but very smart about how machines worked. She had joined the crew just 6 months ago. "We don't know what that thing can do." "We'll be careful," Alex said. "But this could be the most important discovery in human history. We can't just fly away." Endeavour moved closer to the strange structure. As they got nearer, they could see more details. The symbols on its surface were definitely moving, changing shape and pattern like they were alive. Some parts of the structure looked like they had been damaged in battles long ago. "Captain, I'm getting readings from inside the structure," Lisa said. "There are empty spaces, like rooms and hallways. There's still power running through some sections." "Any signs of life?" "No, but there's something else. The computer's trying to translate those symbols, and it's found some matches with very old human languages." Ancient ones from thousands of years ago. Alex felt a chill run down his back. How is that possible? I don't know. But look at this. Lisa put a translation on the main screen. The words appeared in English. Warning. The silence comes. Do not wake what sleeps in the dark between stars. The bridge was quiet for a long moment. Then Security Officer Commander Kyle Roberts spoke up. Kyle was a big man with short black hair and scars on his hands from old fights. Captain, I think we should leave now. But Alex couldn't turn away. This structure held answers to questions humanity didn't even know to ask. No. We're going to dock with it. I want to know what this is and who built it. The dreams are getting worse. Dr. Torres reported. More crew members are affected, and some of them are starting to sleepwalk. Alex looked around the bridge at his crew. These people trusted him to keep them safe. But they also trusted him to make the hard choices that would help humanity learn and grow. Lisa, can you find a safe place for us to dock? There's a section that looks like it might be a docking bay. The power readings are lower there, Jake. Take us in. Slowly. As the Endeavor approached the ancient structure, more symbols began to light up on its surface. They pulsed with a soft blue light that seemed to call to something deep in the human mind. Alex noticed that he was having trouble thinking clearly. His thoughts felt fuzzy, like someone was whispering in his head. Captain, the docking bay is opening, Jake reported. His voice sounded strange, like he was talking in his sleep. Alex shook his head to clear it. Everyone stay alert. Something about this place affects our minds. The Endeavor slid into the docking bay, and massive doors closed behind them. They were now inside the alien structure. The ship's lights seemed dimmer here, and the air felt heavy. Atmosphere reads normal, Amy reported. We can breathe out there. Alex stood up from his captain's chair. I'm taking a team to explore. Lisa, Kyle, Amy, you're with me? Jake, you have the bridge. If anything goes wrong, get us out of here. Yes, sir, Jake said, but his eyes looked distant as Alex and his team prepared to leave the ship. None of them knew that they were about to discover something that would change not just their lives, but the future of all humanity. The ancient structure held secrets that had been waiting in the darkness for millions of years. And now, finally, someone had come to wake them up. The warning carved into the walls was clear. But humans had never been good at listening to warnings. They were explorers, and explorers always wanted to see what was on the other side of the door, even when that door should stay closed forever. Alex Morrison stepped out of the Endeavor and into the alien docking bay. The air felt cold and heavy, like breathing in a tomb. His team followed behind him, their boots making echoing sounds on the metal floor. The walls around them were covered in those strange moving symbols that seemed to watch them as they walked. Stay close together, Alex said into his radio. Keep your eyes open for anything dangerous. Dr. Lisa Hayes held a small scanner in her hands, watching the numbers change as they moved. The energy readings are stronger in here. And there's something else. The air has traces of different atmospheres mixed together. This place has been visited by many different species. Lieutenant Amy Chen looked up at the ceiling. It was so high she couldn't see the top in the dim light. Captain, the technology here is incredible. These walls aren't just metal. They're some kind of smart material that can change and adapt. Commander Kyle Roberts kept his hand on his weapon. He didn't like this place. Everything about it felt wrong, sir. We should set up a perimeter and call for backup before we go any deeper. But Alex was already walking toward a large doorway at the far end of the docking bay. The symbols around the door were glowing brighter now, and he could almost hear something calling to him. It wasn't a voice exactly, but more like a feeling pulling him forward. They walked through the doorway and found themselves in a huge corridor. The walls stretched up and disappeared into darkness above them. Strange lights moved along the ceiling like slow lightning. As they walked, their footsteps echoed in ways that didn't make sense, as if the sound was bouncing off things they couldn't. See, this place is massive, Amy whispered. It's like a city floating in space. More than that, Lisa said, studying her scanner. The readings show this structure goes on for miles in every direction, and there are power sources scattered throughout. Some of them are still active after all this time. They came to a junction where the corridor split into 3 directions. Each path had different symbols above it, and the symbols seemed to pulse. With their own rhythm. Which way, Captain? Kyle asked. Alex looked down each path. One led to what looked like living areas, with smaller rooms and softer lighting. Another led toward what might be a control center, with brighter lights and the sound of humming machinery. The third path led downward into darkness. We'll try the control center first, Alex decided. If we can find their computers, maybe we can learn who built this place. As they walked down the corridor toward the control center, the whispers in Alex's head got stronger. He tried to ignore them, but they were becoming harder to push away. The voices weren't speaking English, but somehow he understood what they were saying. They were calling for help, begging to be remembered. Captain, are you feeling all right? Dr. Tora's voice came through the radio from the ship. Your heart rate is elevated, and your brain activity is showing unusual patterns. I'm fine, Sam, Alex replied, but he wasn't sure that was true. The whispers were getting louder. They reached the control center and found something that made them all stop and stare. The room was filled with strange machines and computers, but that wasn't what caught their attention. What made them freeze was the bodies. Dozens of alien beings sat at control stations, their hands still on the controls. They looked like they had died instantly, but their bodies showed no signs of damage or decay. They just sat there, as if they had simply stopped existing in the middle of whatever they were doing. My God, Lisa whispered. What happened to them? Amy walked carefully between the bodies, looking at the alien technology. Captain, these controls are still active. Computers are still running. It's like they just ... stopped. Kyle checked each body for signs of life, but they were all dead. What was strange was that they all had the same expression on their faces. Not fear or pain, but something like peace. Like they had been happy to die. Alex walked to the main control station where the largest aliens sat. The being looked almost human, but with blue skin and large black eyes. On the screen in front of it, symbols were still moving and changing. Lisa, can you read any of this? Lex asked. Lisa connected her scanner to the alien computer. After a few minutes, she looked up with a worried expression. Captain, I'm getting a translation. This is a log entry from the station commander. It says the silence comes. I hear its call. We are no longer ourselves. You're becoming one. With the darkness, do not mourn us. We go willingly now. What does that mean? Amy asked. Keep reading, Alex said. Lisa worked at the computer for several more minutes. There's more. Lots more. This isn't just one species, Captain. The computer has records from dozens of different civilizations. They all tell the same story. Something called the silence found them, and they all gave up. Kyle looked around the room at all the dead aliens. Gave up how? That's what's strange. They didn't fight. They didn't run. They just stopped being individuals and became part of something else. The logs say they were happy about it. They wanted it to happen. Alex felt the whispers in his head getting stronger. For a moment, he almost understood what the aliens had felt. The idea of not having to think for himself, of just being part of something bigger and older and wiser, seemed almost appealing. Captain? Kyle's voice snapped Alex back to reality. Sir, you were staring at nothing for almost a minute. Are you okay? Alex shook his head to clear it. I'm fine. Let's keep exploring. We need to find out more about this silence. They left the control center and headed toward the living areas. The corridors here were smaller and more comfortable, with softer lighting and what looked like artwork on the walls. But the artwork was disturbing. It showed the same scene over and over. Beings of different species standing together, but their faces were blank and empty. These look like family pictures, Amy said, looking at one of the images. But something's wrong with them. The faces, Lisa said. They all have the same expression, like they're not really individuals anymore. Found living quarters that had been abandoned suddenly. Food was still on tables, but it had turned to dust long ago. Beds were unmade, as if people had gotten up one morning and simply walked away from their lives. In one room, they found something that made Lisa gasp. It was a child's room with toys and games scattered around. But on the wall was a drawing that looked like it had been made by a young alien. It showed a family holding hands, but above them was a huge shadow with eyes. The children could see it coming, Lisa whispered. They knew something was wrong. Alex picked up one of the toys. It was smooth and warm, like it had been played with recently. That was impossible. This place had been dead for thousands of years. Captain, we need to leave, Kyle said. This place is affecting all of us. I can feel something in my head trying to get in. Alex knew Kyle was right. The whispers were getting stronger, and he was starting to understand more of what they were. Saying they were telling him that resistance was pointless. It would be easier to just let go and become part of the collective. But then something happened that changed everything. Amy's scanner started beeping frantically. Captain, I'm picking up movement. Something big is coming through the structure toward us. What kind of movement? Alex asked. I don't know, but it's not human, and it's not like the dead aliens either. It's something else. Something that doesn't show up properly on our scanners. The lights in the corridor began to dim, and the whispers in Alex's head suddenly stopped. In the silence that followed, they could hear something new. Footsteps, slow. Deliberate footsteps coming toward them from the darkness. Everyone back. To the ship, Alex ordered. Now. They ran through the corridors, but the footsteps followed them. Whatever was coming, it was getting closer. And with each step, the temperature dropped and the lights grew dimmer. As they reached the docking bay, Alex looked back one last time. In the darkness behind them, he could see shapes moving. Not the dead aliens, but something else. Something that had been waiting in this place for a very long time. They made it back to the Endeavor just as the docking bay doors began to close on their own. The last thing Alex saw before the doors sealed shut was a figure standing in the doorway, watching them. It looked human, but its eyes were completely black, and when it smiled, Alex felt his blood turn cold. Jake, get us out of here, Alex said as soon as they were back on the bridge. I can't, Captain, Jake replied, his voice shaking. The docking bay doors won't open, and something is jamming our engines. They were trapped inside the alien structure, and whatever lived in the darkness was coming for them. The Endeavor shook as something hit the hull. Captain Alex Morrison held onto his chair as the lights flickered on and off. They had been trapped inside the alien structure for 6 hours now, and whatever was hunting them was getting bolder. Report, Alex said to his crew. Hull damage on Deck 3, Lieutenant Amy Chen reported from her engineering station. But it's not normal damage. The metal is being changed somehow, turned into the same material as the alien structure. Dr. Lisa Hayes looked up from her science station with worry in her eyes. Captain, 20 more crew members are showing signs of mental changes. They're starting to speak in unison, and they keep saying the same thing over and over. What are they saying? We are becoming one. The darkness calls us home. Alex felt a chill run down his spine. The thing in his head was getting stronger too. Sometimes he found himself thinking thoughts that weren't his own, wanting things he had never wanted before. The desire to stop fighting and just give in was growing stronger every hour. Sir, I'm getting a transmission, said Communications Officer Lieutenant Ben Carter. Ben was young and usually very excited about his work, but now he looked scared. It's coming from outside the structure. Put it through. The main screen flickered and showed a face that made everyone gasp. It looked human, but the skin was pale blue and the eyes were silver. When it spoke, the voice was warm and kind. Human vessel, can you hear me? My name is Zara. I represent the Resistance. We know you are trapped in the Shadow Station. We are coming to help you? Alex stepped forward. This is Captain Morrison. Who are you? What is the Resistance? We are the survivors, Captain. The last free minds in this part of space. The silence has taken everything else, but we continue to fight. Hold your position. We will be there soon. The transmission ended, leaving Alex and his crew staring at the blank screen. Captain's sensors show 3 ships approaching, Ben reported. They're small, but their technology is incredible. I've never seen anything like it. Through the bridge windows, they could see lights moving outside the structure. The alien ships looked like living things, flowing and changing shape as they moved through space. They attached themselves to the structure and began cutting through the hull. Captain, they are opening the docking bay doors, Amy said with amazement in her voice. However they're doing it, it's working. Within minutes, the docking bay doors opened and the Endeavor was free. Jake Phillips quickly piloted the ship out of the structure and followed the alien vessels to a safe distance. "This is Zara again," came the voice over the radio. "Follow us. We will take you to Nexus Prime, our home base. There you can rest and learn about the enemy you have encountered." The journey to Nexus Prime took 2 days. During that time, Dr. Sam Torres worked around the clock to help the affected crew members. The strange mental changes were fading now that they were away from the structure, but 15 people were still not completely back to normal. "It's like something was trying to rewrite their brains," Sam explained to Alex. "May change how they think and feel, make them want to be part of a group mind instead of individuals." "Can you fix it?" "I think so. But Captain, I'm worried about something else. Scans show that humans seem to resist this mental influence better than we should. Our brain patterns have something that fights back against the change." When they arrived at Nexus Prime, Alex was amazed by what he saw. The planet was covered in cities built by dozens of different alien species. Ships of all shapes and sizes filled the sky. It was like a galactic refuge where survivors from across space had come together. Zara met them at the spaceport. In person, she was even more unusual looking. She seemed to fade in and out slightly, as if she wasn't completely there. Other beings walked with her, creatures Alex had never imagined. Some looked like giant insects, others like living crystals, and some defied description entirely. "Welcome to Nexus Prime," Zara said. "You're the first humans we have ever met. We're curious to learn about your species." Alex and his senior staff followed Zara through the city. Everywhere they looked, they saw the same thing: different species working together, sharing technology and knowledge. But there was also fear in their eyes, like people who had seen too much horror. "How many worlds has the silence taken?" Alex asked as they walked. "Thousands," Zara replied sadly. "Entire civilizations gone in a matter of years. It spreads from system to system, taking every living mind it encounters. We are all that remains of our peoples." They arrived at a large building in the center of the city. Inside was a war room, filled with maps of space showing the spread of the silence. Large areas were marked in black, representing dead systems. "It started in the dark space between galaxies," explained Dr. Keth, a being that looked like a walking tree with glowing bark. "We don't know what it is exactly, but it's ancient. It's older than any of our civilizations. Feeds on consciousness itself, turning individual minds into parts of a collective." "But some of you escaped," Lisa said. "Very few," said Commander Vex, a being that looked like it was made of living metal. "Most species fall quickly. Silence whispers to them, promises them peace and unity. Many go willingly when they hear the call." Alex thought about his own crew and how hard it had been to resist the whispers. "What makes you different?" "Do you fight it?" Zara smiled. "Each species has found different ways. My people exist partially outside normal space, which makes us harder to influence. The Kethans have collective minds already, so the silence cannot easily change them. The Vex are artificial beings, so their consciousness works differently." "What about humans?" Sam asked. "My medical scans show we have some kind of natural resistance." The room went quiet. All the alien beings looked at each other with expressions Alex couldn't read. "Show them," Zara said to Dr. Keth. Dr. Keth activated a device that projected images into the air. They showed brain scans from different species, with patterns of neural activity displayed in different colors. "This is a normal mind," Dr. Keth explained, showing a brain scan with smooth, organized patterns, "and this is a mind touched by the silence." The second image showed the same patterns, but simplified and unified. "Now look at this," Dr. Keth said, showing a third image. "This is a human brain pattern." Alex stared at the image. Where the other species showed organized patterns, human brains looked chaotic, neural pathways twisted and branched in random directions, creating a mess of activity that looked almost like static. "Your minds are naturally chaotic," Vex explained. Most species think in organized patterns that the silence can easily change. But human thoughts jump around randomly, making connections that don't seem logical. The silence cannot impose order. On chaos so easily, you're saying we're naturally resistant because our minds are messy? Amy asked. More than resistant, Zara said with excitement. We've been studying the brain patterns of your affected crew members. When the silence tries to change a human mind, the chaos fights back. It disrupts the control signal. Ben looked confused. I don't understand. Are you saying humans are special? Not special, Dr. Keth corrected. Different. Your species developed consciousness in a unique way. Most beings think as part of groups naturally, but humans are fiercely individual. You argue with each other. Disagree. Fight for your own ideas. This makes you perfect weapons against a force that requires mental unity. Alex began to understand. You want us to help you fight the silence? We want to help each other, Zara said. Your natural resistance could be the key to developing better defenses. And in return, we can teach you about the silence and help you protect your home world. Over the next few days, the human crew worked with the resistance scientists. Ben worked with communication experts to develop new ways to disrupt the silence's control signals. Amy helped engineers design ships that could resist mental influence. Lisa studied ancient records about the silence's origins, but it was Sam who made the biggest breakthrough. Working with Dr. Keth, he discovered that human brain patterns could be used to create a kind of mental shield. When humans concentrated on being themselves, thinking chaotic thoughts, and refusing to conform, it generated a field that disrupted the silence's influence on nearby beings. It's like your individuality is contagious, Dr. Keth explained. When you think rebellious thoughts, it helps other minds resist as well. Alex watched his crew working with the aliens and felt proud. They'd come so far from home, but they had found something important. Not just knowledge about a threat to Earth, but a way to fight back. Zara, Alex said one evening as they stood on a balcony overlooking the city. How long have you been fighting this war? 300 years, she replied sadly. We have been losing ground slowly, but we have never stopped trying. That's about to change, Alex said with determination. Humans don't give up, and we don't like being told what to think, Zara smiled. I believe you may be right, Captain Morrison. Your species may be exactly what this galaxy needs. Looking up at the stars, Alex knew that the real fight was just beginning. But for the first time since they had encountered the silence, he felt hope. Humanity's greatest weakness, their inability to think as one people, might just be their greatest strength. 3 weeks after arriving at Nexus Prime, Captain Alex Morrison stood in the command center watching the biggest military operation he had ever seen. Ships from dozens of different species filled the space around the planet, all preparing for an attack that could change the course of the war against the silence. Final weapons check complete, reported Commander Kyle Roberts. Kyle now wore new armor designed by the Resistance engineers. It had special shields built into it that would protect his mind from the silence's influence. All human teams are ready for combat. Dr. Lisa Hayes looked up from a bank of computers covered in alien technology. The resonance generators are working perfectly. When we activate them, they should disrupt the silence's control over a wide area. The plan was dangerous and desperate. Intelligence reports showed that the silence had built a massive control center around a dying star in the Omega system. From there, it was directing attacks on the remaining free worlds. The Resistance had decided to strike at this center with everything they had. Captain Morrison came. Zara's voice over the communication system. Are your people ready? Alex looked around at his crew. They had all volunteered for this mission, even though they knew many of them might not come back. Amy Chen was loading special equipment onto small fighter ships. Ben Carter was working with alien technicians to coordinate communications between all the different species. Dr. Sam Torres was preparing medical supplies for the wounded they expected to bring back. We're ready, Alex replied. The fleet moved out from Nexus Prime like a river of light flowing through space. There were over 200 ships, ranging from massive Resistance battleships to tiny human fighters. Alex commanded a mixed squadron. Of 20 ships, half human and half alien commander, Jake Phillips sat in the pilot seat of their new ship, the Liberty. It was built using both human and alien technology, with engines that could bend space and weapons that fired pure energy. Course set for the Omega system, Captain. We'll be there in 6 hours. As they traveled through hyperspace, Alex thought about how much had changed. A month ago, he had been exploring empty space looking for new planets. Now he was leading a combined alien-human fleet against an enemy that had conquered half the galaxy, Captain. We're picking up transmissions from the target area, Ben reported. The silence is sending messages to something, but they're not in any language we understand. Let me hear them, Alex said. The bridge filled with a sound like whispers mixed with static. It wasn't quite language, it wasn't quite noise. But somehow Alex could feel what it meant. The messages were orders, commands being sent to controlled minds across the galaxy. It's coordinating attacks, Lisa said, her face pale. The silence is planning something big, an assault on multiple systems at once. Then we're just in time. Alex replied, when they dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Omega system, what they saw made everyone fall silent.
Oh.
The dying star at the center of the system was surrounded by a structure so large it defied imagination. Looked like someone had built a metal shell around the entire star, with thousands of spikes reaching out into space. My God, Jake whispered. It's the size of a planet, bigger Amy corrected from her engineering station. That thing is bigger than Earth's moon. Around the massive structure, smaller ships moved in perfect formation. There were thousands of them all moving together like parts of a single machine. These were the controlled fleets of the Silence, made up of ships from every civilization it had conquered. All ships, this is Admiral Zara, came the voice over the fleet communication system. Remember the plan. Human squadrons will lead the attack. Your natural resistance will protect you from the mental weapons. Everyone else follows behind the resonance shield they generate. Alex felt nervous but determined. All right, people, that's what we trained for. Kyle, take your boarding teams and get ready. Lisa, start charging the resonance generators. Amy, give me everything the engines have got. The human fighters moved forward first, with the Liberty leading the way. As they got closer to the enemy structure, space around them began to feel wrong. The stars seemed dimmer, and the vacuum of space felt thick and heavy. Captain, I'm getting reports from the other human pilots, Ben said. They're all feeling the mental pressure, but they're holding together. The Silence knows we're here. Lisa reported, energy readings are off the charts. It's trying to take control of our minds. Alex could feel it too. The whispers were back, stronger than ever. They promised him peace, rest, an end to the burden of making decisions and leading. People. For a moment, the idea seemed almost attractive. Alex. Kyle's voice snapped him back to reality. Sir, stay with us. Think about home. Think about Earth. Alex shook his head and focused on memories of Earth. Blue skies, green forests, the sound of rain on windows. The whispers faded as his chaotic human thoughts fought back against the alien influence. I'm okay, he said. All human pilots, remember your training. Think about what makes you different. Think about your families, your dreams, your arguments. With your friends, don't let it make you the same as everyone else. The human fighters pushed through the mental attacks and reached the outer edge of the structure. Behind them, protected by the field of human stubbornness and individuality, came the rest of the resistance fleet. The controlled ships of the Silence turned to attack them. The battle that followed was unlike anything in human history. Ships fought not just with weapons, but with thoughts and willpower. The Silence tried to turn the attacking pilots into its servants. While the resistance fighters struggled to maintain their individual identities, resonance generators at full power, Lisa reported, were disrupting their control signals across a wide area. On the main screen, Alex could see the effect. Some of the enemy ships suddenly stopped moving in formation. Their pilots were breaking free from the Silence's control, even if only for a few moments. Kyle, take your teams in, Alex ordered. Find the control center and plant the charges. Kyle and 20 other humans launched from the Liberty in small assault pods. They flew through the battle, dodging energy beams and debris, heading for an opening in the massive structure. Inside the structure, Kyle's team found corridors filled with the absorbed beings of a dozen different species. They all moved together, worked together, thought together, but when the humans came near, carrying their field of mental chaos, some of the controlled beings stopped and looked around with confusion in their eyes. "This way," Kyle said, following the directions Lisa had given them. The control center should be at the heart of the structure. They fought their way through passages that seemed to change and shift around them. The silence was trying to confuse them, trap them, make them give up. But humans were good at being stubborn, and Kyle's team kept pushing forward. Meanwhile, outside, the space battle was reaching its peak. Human fighters danced between enemy ships, their pilots thinking rebellious thoughts and refusing to be controlled. The larger resistance ships followed them, using their weapons to destroy the Silence's vessels. "Captain, we're taking heavy losses," Jake reported. "But the plan is working. The enemy formation is breaking apart." "Kyle's team is at the control center," Ben added. "They're planting the resonance charges now." Deep inside the structure, Kyle and his team found the heart of the Silence's operation. It was a vast chamber filled with organic-looking machinery that pulsed with dark energy. In the center was something that might once have been a living being, but now was connected to thousands of cables and wires. "That's it," Kyle said. "That's what's controlling everything." They placed their charges around the chamber, devices designed to create a massive resonance field that would disrupt the Silence's control over the entire sector. As they worked, the thing in the center began to speak. "You cannot stop the inevitable," it said in a voice like grinding metal. "All consciousness will become one. All chaos will become order." "Yeah, well, humans are really bad at following orders," Kyle replied, setting the last charge. The team ran back through the corridors as the charges prepared to detonate. Behind them, they could hear the Silence screaming in rage and pain as its control began to slip. They made it back too, their assault pods, just as the charges went off. The explosion wasn't physical, but mental. A wave of pure human stubbornness and individuality spread out from the control center, breaking the Silence's hold on thousands of minds. Across the structure, controlled beings suddenly stopped what they were doing and looked around with their own thoughts for the first time in years. Some cried, some laughed, some just stood there trying to remember who they used to be. "Charge is successful," Kyle reported as his team flew back to the Liberty. "The control center is down." "All ships withdraw," came Admiral Zara's voice. "Mission is complete." As the Resistance fleet pulled back, Alex watched the massive structure begin to tear itself apart. Without the Silence's control holding it together, the different sections started to separate and drift away. "We did it," Lisa said with amazement. "We actually did it." "This is just the beginning," Alex replied, but he was smiling. "The Silence has other control centers, other fleets, but now we know we can beat it." The victory at Omega had shown the galaxy something important. The Silence could be fought. 6 months after the battle at Omega, Admiral Alex Morrison stood on the observation deck of the newly built station Freedom 1, watching ships from 50 different worlds come and go through Nexus Prime's busy spaceport. He had been promoted after the victory, but the title felt strange. A year ago, he had been exploring empty space. Now he was helping to lead a galactic alliance. "Morning reports, Admiral," said Captain Katie Bell, his former second officer who now commanded her own ship. Katie had short red hair and the same stubborn streak that made humans so effective against the Silence. 3 more systems reported successful liberation operations yesterday. "The resonance technology is working better than we hoped." Alex smiled as he read the reports. Since the victory at Omega, the war against the Silence had changed completely. The mental shields developed from human brain patterns were being mass-produced and given to every ship in the Allied fleet. Entire worlds that had been under the Silence's control for decades were breaking free. "Any word from the Deep Space Scouts?" Alex asked. "Commander Phillips sent a message this morning. His exploration fleet found 2 more refugee populations hiding in the outer systems. They're bringing them back to Nexus Prime for integration." Jake Phillips now led a fleet of ships designed to find survivors from the worlds the Silence had attacked. Many beings had escaped before their planets fell, hiding in asteroid fields and dead systems. The Allied forces were bringing them home, and helping them rebuild their lives. Dr. Lisa Hayes approached them, carrying a tablet full of scientific data. Morel, we've finished analyzing the wreckage from the Omega structure. What we found changes everything we thought we knew about the Silence. What did you discover? It's not a natural force. Someone created it long ago. We found fragments of technology that shows it was built as a weapon by a civilization that existed before any of our current species evolved. Alex felt a chill. Built by who? We don't know. But whoever they were, they're gone now. The Silence destroyed them too, eventually. It's been wandering the galaxy for millions of years, consuming everything it encounters. Lieutenant Amy Chen joined them now, wearing the uniform of chief engineer for the entire Allied fleet. But here's the good news. The technology we captured is helping us build better defenses. We're designing ships that can't be mentally controlled at all. And there's something else, Lisa added. The Silence isn't just in this galaxy, or deep. Space sensors are picking up similar energy signatures in neighboring galaxies. This threat is much bigger than we thought. Alex looked out at the stars and felt the weight of responsibility. Earth was still out there, unaware of the danger coming their way. Have we made contact with Earth yet? Dr. Sam Torres walked up to join their group. Sam now ran the largest medical facility in this part of space, helping beings recover from years of mental control. The long-range communication array is almost ready. We should be able to send a message to Earth within the week. What will we tell them? Katie asked. Alex thought about it. How do you explain to an entire planet that there's an ancient evil consuming the galaxy, and that humanity's greatest weakness was actually their greatest strength? The truth, he said finally. All of it. Commander Kyle Roberts appeared on the observation deck, still wearing the battle scars from their fight at Omega. Kyle now trained new resistance fighters, teaching them how to use human mental patterns to protect themselves. Admiral, the new recruits are ready for inspection. We've got volunteers from 30 different species, all eager to learn our techniques. Alex followed Kyle to the training facilities. What he saw there made him proud. Humans and aliens work together, sharing knowledge and tactics. Young beings from a dozen worlds practiced thinking chaotic thoughts, learning to embrace individuality and personal freedom. The key is not to think like a group, Kyle was explaining to a class of new recruits. Think about what makes you different from everyone else. Think about your dreams, your fears, your favorite foods. The more individual you are, the harder it is for the Silence to control you. One of the students, a blue-skinned alien from the Viridian system, raised her hand. But Teacher Kyle, my people always think together. How can we learn to be individuals? Start small, Kyle replied with a smile. Disagree with something. Anything. Have your own opinion about what to eat for breakfast. The more you practice being yourself, the stronger your mental defenses become. Alex watched the training with satisfaction. This was how they would win the war, not just through battles and weapons, but by teaching the galaxy how to think freely. Later that day, Alex attended a meeting of the Allied Council, the governing body that had formed after the victory at Omega. Representatives from hundreds of worlds sat around a circular table, discussing strategy and sharing resources. The liberation of the Perseus sector is complete, reported Admiral Vex, the artificial being who commanded the mechanical forces. 47 worlds are now free from Silence control. Our production facilities are working at full capacity, added Dr. Keth, the tree-like being who oversaw scientific research. We're producing enough resonance shields to equip 1,000 ships per month. Zara, still the diplomatic leader of the Alliance, turned to Alex. Admiral Morrison, what is the status of the Earth's contact mission? Almost ready, Alex replied. Captain Bell will command the return expedition. We're sending a full diplomatic team along with complete records of everything we've learned. And if Earth doesn't believe the message, asked Commander Vex. Katie spoke up from her seat. Then we'll show them. We have captured Silence technology, freed prisoners, and battle recordings. The evidence speaks for itself, sighed Alex. Added, Humans are naturally suspicious. They'll want to investigate everything before they make any decisions. That's exactly the kind of thinking that will help them resist the silence. The meeting continued for hours, covering everything from refugee resettlement to the construction of new defensive stations. The alliance was growing stronger every day. Everyone knew the real war was still ahead of them. That evening, Alex stood in his quarters aboard Freedom 1, looking at pictures of Earth that seemed like they came from another lifetime. Homeworld looked so peaceful and blue, orbiting its quiet yellow star. Soon, that peace would be shattered by the knowledge of what was coming. There was a knock at his door. "Come in." Dr. Torres entered, carrying 2 cups of coffee. "Thought you might want some company, Admiral." "Thanks, Sam." Alex accepted the coffee gratefully. "You ever wonder if we're doing the right thing? Going back to Earth, I mean? Maybe it would be better to leave them in peace?" "For how long?" Sam asked. "The silence is still out there, still growing. Eventually it will find Earth, with or without our warning." "I know. But once we tell them, everything changes. Earth will have to become part of this war."
Alex.
"I've been studying the psychological profiles of the humans who came with us. Do you know what makes us different from every other species we've met? Our mental chaos? Deeper than that? Every other species we've encountered thinks in terms of survival first. When they're threatened, they either fight or run. But humans? We think in terms of justice. When we see something wrong, we try to fix it, even if it's dangerous." Alex thought about that. "You think we came out here not just to explore, but to help? I think we were always meant to find this place and these people. The universe needed someone stubborn enough to stand up to the silence and chaotic enough to resist its control." The next morning, Alex stood on the launch platform watching the UCS Defiance prepare for departure. It was the most advanced ship ever built, combining the best technology from dozens of civilizations. Captain Katie Bell stood beside him in her new uniform. "Ready to go home?" Alex asked. "Ready to bring Earth into the Alliance?" Katie replied. "They need to know what's out here, and we need them in this fight. Remember, take your time explaining everything. Don't rush them into any decisions." Katie grinned. "Alex, we're talking about humans here. The moment they hear about the silence, they're going to want to build bigger ships and better weapons. That's just who we are." The Defiance launched with a flash of light, disappearing into the gateway that would take it back to Earth. Alex watched until the light faded, then turned back toward the command center. There was still work to do. Over the following weeks, reports continued to come in from across the galaxy. More worlds were being liberated, more refugees were being found, and more species were joining the Alliance. The tide of the war had turned, but Alex knew this was just the beginning. The silence was ancient and patient. It had consumed galaxies before, and it would try to consume this one too. But now it faced something it had never encountered before, a galaxy united not by fear or control, but by the simple desire to remain free. Standing on the bridge of Freedom 1, Admiral Alex Morrison looked out at the stars and smiled. Somewhere out there, Earth was receiving Katie's message. Soon, humanity would join the fight officially, and when they did, the silence would learn something important about humans. They really didn't like being told what to do. The journey beyond home had led them to something greater than exploration or discovery. It had led them to their true purpose, protecting the freedom to think, to dream,